What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I wanted to talk about Killstreaks versus Scorestreaks in Call of Duty, more specifically relating to this year's upcoming Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which we will have that full reveal on in a couple days. I'm actually in LA. By the time you guys see this video, I'll be in LA for a Modern Warfare event so I can record some gameplay, and I'll be sharing that with you guys on August 1st. But until then, I wanted to have some videos scheduled, and one of the topics I wanted to talk about was Killstreaks versus Scorestreaks, because as of right now, the leaks and rumors are suggesting that Modern Warfare will be returning to a Killstreak or possibly Pointstreak system rather than Scorestreaks. So today, I just wanted to go through, discuss the pros and cons of each type of these systems, as well as share which system I would prefer to see this time around for Modern Warfare. So let's start it off looking at the Killstreak or Pointstreak system. I am going to group these together. Traditionally in Call of Duty, we had the Killstreak system where the only thing that would get you those streak rewards would be kills. Then in Modern Warfare 3, they added the Pointstreak system, so they made it so if you cap a flag in Domination, for instance, that would also give you a point towards your streak, just like a kill would. And I should also mention Ghost had like a half-point streak system as well, so for some actions they could give you half a point, other actions would be worth 1 full point. But when it comes to those Killstreaks or Pointstreaks, there are definitely some pros to that. First off, they're easier to track. It's much easier to keep track of how close you are to your next streak, because it's quite simple. For a UAV, for instance, it'll take 3 to 4 kills, and therefore it's really easy to keep track of that. You don't have all of these little pieces of score adding up to get to that point. It's simply, you get 3 kills, and you get your kill streak. The next positive thing about the Killstreak system, this one is subjective, but in my opinion, with Killstreaks, individual kills feel more satisfying. When kills are the only thing that contributes towards those streak rewards that you get within a game, which is a huge part of what made Call of Duty successful, is those streak rewards because it releases dopamine when you earn those. In a pure Killstreak system, each kill really feels that much more rewarding, whereas in a Scorestreak system, you're getting scored from a wide variety of sources, and kills are just a part of that overall system, and therefore individually they don't feel quite as rewarding, at least in my opinion. Another thing I like about the Killstreak or Pointstreak system over Scorestreaks is the streak cost feels consistent across all game modes. So whether you're playing TDM or Domination or Safeguard or Search and Destroy, it feels consistent across all those modes. It's 3 kills for a UAV or 7 kills for a Harrier. It doesn't change from mode to mode, whereas with the Scorestreak system, you can see a very wide variance in how easy it is to earn streaks in different modes. Now that could also be considered a pro in some ways, but we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into the Scorestreaks part of this. Now the last pro that I wanted to mention here when it comes to the Killstreak system is I do feel like it's a bit easier and more rewarding for talented solo players. If you're in one of those matches where your teammates just aren't pulling their weight, they're not doing very well, in a Killstreak system, it tends to be quite easy for you as a solo player to just go out there, focus on getting your kills and getting those kill streaks up, and then you can use those kill streaks basically as your competent teammates to try and carry your incompetent teammates to a win. Now that's not to say that you can't carry teams in a Scorestreak system as well, because that can absolutely be done, but in a Scorestreak system you do have to be mixing in objective play typically to be able to get those streaks up, and that's much harder to do as a solo player if you don't have very good teammates to back you up. So I do feel like if you are a talented solo player, it's definitely easier in a Killstreak based system. So to me at least, those are the primary positives that come out of the Killstreak or Pointstreak system rather than Scorestreaks. However, this type of a system also has quite a few downsides in comparison to Scorestreaks, so let's start looking at those. The first one is obviously, especially with a pure Killstreak system, not Pointstreaks, objective play simply isn't rewarded properly. So in Domination, for instance, why would you risk yourself trying to capture that B flag when you could just hang back and pick people off that are trying to do that and get those killstreak rewards up that are really satisfying to earn? Even with a Pointstreak system, things aren't really weighted properly, like getting 1 kill in some random insignificant corner of the map is equal to capping the B flag in a Pointstreak system, and that just doesn't make any sense, because capturing the B flag is not only much more helpful to your team and it contributes to the win a lot more, it's also a much riskier thing to do, and there should be some form of a trade-off of risk and reward. And this brings us to the next big con of a Killstreak system, and that is it can lead to camping or undesirable playstyles, like people playing objective modes and staying far away from the objectives with no interest in that whatsoever, because it's easier to get insignificant kills off in the corner of the map. This is actually probably the biggest downside of the Killstreak system, is you will get a ton of players that completely ignore the objective and they'll play objective modes just because it's easier to get those free kills on people that are actually trying to play the objective, and they'll be rewarded very heavily for that. And this leads to the next con with that. It all kind of ties together. Objective play is much less satisfying in a Killstreak-based system. You don't really feel that great sense of reward for capturing the B flag while getting a couple kills at the same time as you would in a Scorestreak system, because in a Scorestreak system, you would rack up a ton of score towards your streak by doing that, but in a Killstreak system, you're just getting the credit for those kills that you got while capping the flag, and you could have gotten those kills much easier in some other area of the map without risking yourself on the objective. So clearly, especially when we're looking at objective modes, there are a lot of cons to the Killstreak or Pointstreak system. And this is where I want to bring Scorestreaks into the discussion. Let's first cover the pros of Scorestreaks. The first one is quite obvious. Every action that helps your team out throughout a game is rewarded and will help you get that much closer to earning these in-game rewards, which are the streaks. So even if you're not particularly talented at killing a bunch of people and going on a big streak, you can still do things to help your team out, like shooting Scorestreaks down, or getting assists, or maybe defending a flag. And in doing so, this will help you get to those rewards that you otherwise would probably struggle quite a bit with if it were a pure Killstreak system. Additionally, to take this one step further, with a Scorestreak system, you can really fine-tune the weighting of each one of these actions and how much they will reward you towards your streak. So for instance, capturing the B flag in Domination, I feel that should definitely be rewarded more than getting a random insignificant kill in some corner of the map. With a Pointstreak system, those things will have the same value, but with a Scorestreak system, you can properly reward those people that are actually trying to help the team win the game, and they're taking those risks that are required to win the game. Another little thing I like about this side of the Scorestreak system, it's a relatively specific thing, but I still wanted to point it out, is you can have different weighting for different levels of assisting a kill on an enemy. So in a Killstreak system, assists aren't going to be helping you, unless you have one of those perks where like 2 assists will add up to equal a kill, but generally in a Killstreak system, assists are meaningless. With a Scorestreak system, you can have different levels of an assist. So if you just put one bullet into an enemy, you barely deal any damage to them, and your teammate finishes them off, you could get like plus 25 score, for instance. Whereas if you deal most of the damage to that enemy, and then your teammate just swoops in and gets that last bullet to finish off the kill, you can be awarded 75 score for that assist, because you really did most of the work, but you didn't quite get the kill on him. I really like that about a Scorestreak system. You can really fine-tune and differentiate how much you're actually contributing with everything that you do in-game. So those are the main pros of a Scorestreak system in my opinion, and I think those are pretty strong positives as well. However, there definitely are some downsides to a Scorestreak system, and some areas that I feel Killstreaks and Pointstreaks actually do better. The first downside with a Scorestreak system is in many game modes, it can be exploited. And this is typically exploited by the more powerful team, and this leads to a lot more snowballing in games, where once you start gaining that momentum, the streaks just start pouring in for you, and that makes it harder and harder for the enemy team to get themselves out of that situation. Now, one example of exploiting the Scorestreak system is in hardpoint. You can kind of juggle the hardpoint. So what that means is you can capture the hardpoint, and then immediately after you back off of the hardpoint just a little bit, let one of the enemies take the hardpoint, and then you kill them and capture it back. And you can just repeat this process over and over, and every time you do that, you're getting capture points as well as points for a kill on the objective. And as long as you're confident with winning your gunfights, you can rack up so much score with this in a really short period of time. Additionally, in Domination, this is something that I would often do back in Black Ops 2 because you got so much score for getting a kill while capturing an objective. What I would do is I'd hop on the B flag just to get myself some kills with a lot of extra score. Then I would hop off the B flag without having any intention of capturing it in that moment, so that I could regroup and repeat that process. This would allow me to get my streaks up really quickly, then I would finally capture the B flag and move on from there. Again, this is just another situation where you can kind of exploit things and you're not really properly playing the objective. Instead, you're just taking advantage of that Scorestreak system. So you can already see right there that the Scorestreak system isn't exactly perfect. The next thing that I'm not a big fan of with a Scorestreak system is it can also lead to some undesirable playstyles. The biggest one that pops into my head is triple capping in Domination. In Domination, the most effective way to consistently win games is to cap and hold a home flag as well as a B flag, and let the enemy hold their home flag so that their spawns remain consistent, they're not going to end up spawning behind you, and you don't have absolute chaos. So perfect objective play in Domination is doing that, capping those 2 flags and not pushing for that 3rd flag. However, with a score streak system, there is that incentive to go for that 3rd flag and go for the triple cap, which will benefit you in the short run because it gets your streaks up faster, but it harms your team in the long run because enemies will start spawning all over the map, and you see this countless times where when you push for that triple cap, you actually end up screwing over your teammates and you end up losing both of the other flags. So in that sense, once again, score streaks are definitely not perfect. Moving on to the next downside of the score streak system, this is kind of something I touched on earlier with the Killstreak system. With score streaks, it can be hard to balance score requirements for individual game modes, so you have some relative consistency across modes. So a great example of this is Safeguard. That mode tends to have a much lower score per minute overall, and even if you're really doing well, it's much harder to earn streaks in Safeguard than it would be in Domination, for instance. Same thing goes with Domination versus Team Deathmatch. It tends to be a little bit easier to get streaks in Domination compared to Team Deathmatch just because there's more score to go around. Now, like I said, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, and it might be intended design as well. Maybe in certain modes, they just don't want very many score streaks or high-end score streaks showing up. But at least for me personally, I do prefer some consistency across the board where you do feel properly rewarded for doing well regardless of the game mode that you're playing. A prime example of this one was back when COD World War II first launched, they committed to doing Dom 50, so only 50 score per kill in Domination, and for me, that completely killed the Domination game mode because getting high-end streaks was just not realistic. Whereas in Team Deathmatch, I could get those high-end streaks reasonably consistently. As a result, my favorite game mode, Domination, was basically dead to me for the entire beginning of COD World War II when they committed to that Domination 50. So when it comes to score streaks, there's definitely a lack of consistency, although this can also be fine-tuned and balanced properly. It's not like this always happens with every mode, but we do tend to see some inconsistencies when it comes to being rewarded with streaks across different game modes. And this just leaves us with one last downside that I can think of when it comes to score streaks, and this is when you're transferring over to a score streak system, you do have to increase the amount of score required to get that, because now instead of just getting kills, you're getting score from various sources. So just as an example, UAVs used to be a 3 kill streak, but you can't really go 1-to-1 and make that a 300 score streak in a score streak driven game, because that means it's often just going to be 2 kills and then you get score from various other sources that will take you over the edge to get that UAV, and therefore it'll be too easy to get that. So for obvious reasons, they tend to push this score value up, so it's not exactly 1-to-1. And I feel there has been a tendency lately to overcompensate with this a little bit, and therefore just overall, score streaks tend to be harder to earn than the kill streaks that we used to see back in the day. So a UAV from Call of Duties of the past used to be just 3 kills. Now, in many of the Call of Duties that have the score streak system, especially if you're not playing an objective game mode, it's going to take you 4 or 5 kills to get a UAV up. And this just means, in general, score streaks become harder to earn. And I feel like for a lot of people, this can limit the fun factor, especially for a lot of the casual players out there. In the past, they were able to scrape by and sometimes get those mid-range streaks just fine. Whereas with the score streak system, when you bump up that score requirement, they're less likely to be able to multitask and play the objective while also getting kills, and therefore they don't experience these streaks nearly as often, which does take away from the fun factor for a lot of people. I know for a lot of people they prefer it that way, so there's fewer streaks in the air. But it is something to consider when it comes to the score streak system. But with that, that pretty much wraps it up for the pros and cons for both kill streaks as well as score streaks. Overall, I definitely prefer a well-balanced and fine-tuned score streak system over kill streaks or point streaks. I do think it is superior. I think the upsides definitely outweigh the downsides, and many of the downsides with the score streak systems that I listed, those can be avoided with proper balancing of the score. Having said this though, I am definitely open to seeing the return of a point streak system for Modern Warfare, if that's what Infinity Ward decided to do. And like I said, that's what the rumors and the leaks are currently suggesting. I'm definitely going to keep an open mind to that if that turns out to be the case. It might not be so bad. I do remember really enjoying the kill streaks in the past, and this definitely wouldn't be a make or break issue for me when it comes to Modern Warfare, if they do decide to go with kill streaks or point streaks. But at the end of the day, that's just my opinion. I'd like to know in the comment section below, what do you guys think about the score streak versus kill streak or point streak debate for Modern Warfare? Which one do you guys prefer? Do you prefer that score streak system or kill streaks? and let me know why as well. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.
Yeah.